let's talk about 5 things that I really love about my Elantra N-Line, and let's talk about 5 things that I really don't. So 5 things I really love about this car is I love the wireless Apple CarPlay. When it works, it's great. It's seamless. I keep my phone in my pocket. I get in my car, my music, my navigation, everything is there. Another thing I really like about this car is the transmission. The dual clutch, yes, when it's cold, can be a little wonky. I feel like it kind of rumbles through the gears when it's cold. It's almost like it's lazy. But when you get it warm, when you're controlling those gears yourself, there's no smoother and quicker downshifts you can get for $20-something thousand. Prove me wrong. I drove a brand new Golf GTI Mark 8 and I downshifted that car, and oh my gosh, it took maybe like 1.5 seconds to get my next gear. Another thing I really enjoy about this Elantra N-Line is the miles per gallon, the fuel economy. So I drive this car, I wouldn't say rough, but you know, I obviously like to do some sporty driving, and most of the time I average 35 miles per gallon on my trips. And yes, I don't live in the city. Yes, I get all these open roads for the most part, and I don't obviously drive this car in traffic on a daily basis anymore, but I still go to Boston 2 or 3 times a week, and I will say that still overall on my 10,000 mile trip rotation, that this, you know, the log, I still average about 35, which here I'll show you right now. 34.9, I guess I'm lying, but yeah, see, we just average great a fuel economy in this car. Another thing I really enjoy about this Elantra N-Line is the small cool details, such as the checkered flag gauge cluster, the shift lever here. I just love how it looks. I think this car is just really great designed. Obviously, I really like the N logos on the seats. I enjoy the red stitching throughout the cabin. I feel like overall they really put a lot of time and effort into a car that I got for $23,000. The 4th thing on my list for things I really enjoy about this Elantra N-Line is the lane follow assist. And yes, some of you probably use it, some of you don't. It's not like the lane keep assist where it bounces you back and forth and tries to micromanage your drive. What I use this for is if I'm trying to open a water bottle or grab something from my seat, and yes, I still have my eyes on the road, but I need an extra hand, I use that, and it is great. Look, it's keeping me straight in the lane, it's keeping me even and also going around the turn. And yes, it calls for your hand every, you know, maybe 15 or 20 seconds, but that's really all the time you need to just kind of have a little bit of extra time to unscrew a water bottle or whatever action you're trying to make, while also keeping you safe. And last but not least, which this is not a Elantra N-Line specific, this is more of my car specific, is the electric shadow color. They have since removed it for the 2024 Elantra N-Lines, and they've replaced it with the exotic green, which actually, if I were to get that car and I were shopping for one right now, I would get it in that exotic green. I think that color is so cool, but I love this electric shadow color. It is just so great. It's such a beautiful color. I get a lot of compliments on it all the time, and I think it pairs really well with the black styling, the black exterior trim of the car too. Overall, this car is just beautifully designed. And so going on to my list of the 5 things that I do not enjoy about this car, number 1 being power. Okay, so 201 horsepower with, you know, roughly 3,300 pounds of curb weight. It doesn't pair out well. You know, you don't get a lot of straight line acceleration, which is going to lead to one of my other points here in a second. But yeah, I just think that this car's power is lackluster. When you first get the car, you're often coming from something that's not as quick, and you're happy with it. But over time, you just kind of get used to the acceleration because overall, it's just not that fast. Number 2 being, and this kind of following up on my last point, is having no limited slip differential. So this often fixes the problem with wheel hop. Yes, it's not the only thing you can do. You can add an engine mount. There's other modifications that people have talked about, but having the car stock is what I'm talking about. And so having a limited slip differential in this car, I think, would really improve it in a lot of ways. But, however, it doesn't, and that's kind of where this car has Hyundai has competitively priced this car compared to the Honda Civic Si, which has continued to rise in MSRP, and I believe they're over $30,000 now, brand new. The third thing I don't enjoy, and this isn't necessarily a Elantra specific problem, but I don't love the trunk space. I just think that there's not enough clearance going into the cabin where you can't practically fit something through unless it was like one narrow board. Like, I've tried to put ladders back there and you just can't fit them over the 60-40 split rear seats, and you can't fit them over under the clearing in the trunk that goes to the cabin. So I just kind of wish this car was a hatchback, but like I said, it's not a Elantra problem, it's more of a sedan problem. Fourth thing on my list, and it was also something I enjoyed, was the Apple CarPlay. And this, in the sense, is when it is not working properly. Sometimes I get in here and I have to reset this thing maybe 5 or 6 times a drive, and I don't really enjoy having to do that. And yes, sometimes it's, I don't have to hard reset with the button. Most of the time I have to click a few things just to show the screen again. It won't interrupt my music, it won't interrupt my navigation or anything, but it will stop showing the screen. I'm hoping it'll do it during this drive so I can record it on the GoPro. But it does that to me on a quite frequent basis, and it just kind of bothers me. And then sometimes I have to do a hard reset, but that's not too often. And the fifth and final thing I don't necessarily enjoy on this Elantra N-Line is the paddle shifters. Yes, they are of high quality, but I don't really enjoy that they are wheel mounted rather than column mounted. And let me explain the difference between the two. So when they are wheel mounted, when you're doing overhand turns, you can't upshift, you can't downshift. You have to kind of look for the shifts, and sometimes it's just not possible with how quickly you're moving the wheel. Whereas if they were column mounted, they stay in one spot, which is right where they would be right now, and you can predictively shift up and down without having to change anything, without having to adjust your hand position. And that's why I don't like wheel-mounted paddle shifters, and I think a lot of cars make this mistake. But with that being said, thank you for watching. Thank you. Please like, please subscribe, and we will get you more content soon. Thanks, guys. Bye.